Yes, it's a wet morning in the city of Lagos. The rains are finally here, and everybody has experienced, let me say, overnight downpour of showers of blessing. We thank God for that. But I just believe that the outcome, the effect of the rains would actually be actually taken care of, would actually be proactive in terms of averting flooding, particularly in the city of Lagos. That's a child of Lagos State, and I know the government of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is up to the task. Months before now, I know Governor has actually, the commissioner have actually been in town advocating for free drains and all the factors that actually help free flow of water when the rain comes. Good morning. My name is Banji Busari. It's the midweek edition of our program, Summit. Of course, Jumoke is not here. I'm sure that they should be here very, very soon. Today on the program, we're actually x-raying the recent activities, particularly in the case of the charismatic former governor of Kogi State, Yahya Bello. He ran his 2 terms and they handed over recently. And the EFCC is at work asking questions. But of course, what EFCC has done is to invite him to answer questions, particularly on the alleged money laundering up to the sum of 80 billion naira. And of course, you know the rest of the history, particularly what the drama that occurred in the city of Abuja last week. That's our focus today, but of course, you know we don't do it alone. I have my guests, well-seasoned guests. I mean, very, very eminently qualified to actually x-ray the issues and then predict the outcomes for us. You are welcome. My guest is no other person than our friend, our partner on the program, our associate, Barrister Jide Olumi. It's our pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
We always love when each time we invite you, you are always there for us.
Thank you, sir.
May God, good Lord, continue to hearken to your cause every time you come. So today, you are welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Today we're actually x-raying the drama that occurred last week in the city of Abuja. The EFCC was after invitations to the former governor of Kogi State, and there was no sign of maybe compliance with the invitation. The EFCC actually went after the former governor, and that in a dramatic manner he escaped the arrest with the alleged aid of the current governor of the state. Now, so much noise. We are familiar with it. Of course, you are also familiar with the recent case of the former governor of Imo State,
Rochas
Okorocha, who also tried to resist the arrest of the EFCC. Let me first and foremost ask, what's your reaction to this? Is it just a media trial? Because after the so much noise and the drama, we hardly ever hear of anything. What's your reaction?
Let me start by saying that the former governor of Kogi State, Yahya Bello, is a prominent political figure. So that may explain the level of drama we are having now. Because, as they say, he's politically exposed. But having said that, you look at the fact that the EFCC established and that came upstream about 2004 to handle economic and financial crimes. And basically, under the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, when you look at Section 15, subsection 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it says that the state shall abolish corrupt practices. So, an EFCC came up with allegations that would have been prompted by some preliminary investigation. And that now takes us to the concept of immunity. As a president, vice president, governor, deputy governor in Nigeria, you enjoy immunity.
For as long as
you remain in office, you cannot be prosecuted or any suit filed against you. And that has its foundation in the fact that they need to focus on the assignment of office and not be distracted, because you can imagine at that level having to deal with several kinds of cases. But that has not in any way foreclosed the possibility of being investigated, for some allegations. And it's the immunity aspect that played out when the present governor of Kogi State, who is enjoying immunity, drove into the premises and brought the former governor out. So that was an extended immunity to the former governor, and took him away because he could not be arrested. The governor could not be arrested, and it has become a media issue again because it's a high-profile case, and that led me to searching it, and I recall the case of Ayodele Fayose, the former governor of Ekiti State, in 2018. In fact, before he left, when he was in office, he's been investigated. EFCC was ready. In fact, he wrote a letter to EFCC that within 24 hours of my leaving office, I'll submit myself. And he drove there with printed T-shirt, the EFCC, I'm here. He was escorted by President, Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, as governor of Rivers State. He was escorted by Honorable Remi Fani Kayode, a former minister in the country, and it was to go and submit himself. He has been arraigned in court. The matter is still in court as we speak. He was granted bail, and the prosecution is on. Because when you talk of the criminal justice value chain, you talk about thorough investigation, diligent prosecution before a committed judiciary. But as it is now, the drama is unfolding, and the Attorney General has said that he should submit himself to the EFCC. And if I were to be in the public relations team, now, of the former governor, Yahya Bello, that would have been my advice, because we have the presumption of innocence under the Nigerian Constitution that says that unless the allegations against a defendant, because we call them defendants, is proved beyond all reasonable doubt, you cannot convict the person. So, and we have many cases. In the case of the former Oyo State Governor, Ladoja, charged and acquitted on the charges against him because the judge complained that there was no diligent prosecution. And what do you want the court to do? It is the executive arm that prosecutes. Though there was a promise towards 2015 election to change the burden of proving criminal cases from the prosecutor to the defendant, but that has not been implemented. Because when I just read recently about the case of the the DG of Nimasa, who has been running, he's been discharged and acquitted, filed nolle prosequi, that there was no case against him. Just like the former Attorney General and the Adoke Mohammed Adoke. Exactly. So this drama would have been unnecessary, if
does that the drama and all of that associated, would you say that would give much credence to the fact that EFCC enjoys so much media trial than the real crop?
It's not about EFCC enjoying media trial. It's about the society where some are perceived to be the high and mighty. You made reference to the case of Rocha Sokorocha, politically exposed. If we read that EFCC arrested 78 Yahoo boys easily, then you should be able to compare notes. It's difficult for them to effect arrest when the higher mighty are involved. And these are big questions, and it touches on the global
consideration of the system we operate. You see, so if EFCC can arrest 78 Yahoo boys at the same time, if NDLEA can arrest people at the airport, you saw what happened to the former governor of Anambra State, Obiano. He was picked up at the airport. He was about to jet out to the US to cook breakfast for. So these are issues. We have a systemic issue. The EFCC has a legitimate duty. You see, this allegation is huge, 80 billion naira, and in the criminal justice ecosystem, even when you are arraigned in court for prosecution, they will read the charges to you. You have two options: to plead guilty or to plead not guilty. And if you plead not guilty, the matter continues. That of Fayose from 2018 to 2024, how many years? He's still there. You see? So you continue, and for someone of his stature, you'll be granted bail.
Okay, you spoke about systemic issue, and that is a very witty one. But since the attempted arrest of the former governor of Kogi State, the president himself has come out openly, unequivocally spoken that advised the former governor to submit himself to the EFCC. Does that not show that the body language of this administration is totally against the corruption that has pervaded the land?
Definitely, I quite agree with that. But you see, this case is peculiar. In the case of Ayodele Fayose, it was PDP versus APC. Wike, PDP, and the guy Fayose, so APC is trying to intimidate PDP. But this time around, it's APC. Alright, so the allegations are there. There was a day I came back to the office, I saw an invitation from the police headquarters in Ikeja in Lagos here on a matter involving some relations who traveled home. They were having family issues. And the invitation said I should come in 3 days' time. I drove right there the same day to let them know I'm very busy. I will not be available in 3 days' time. I'm here now to answer your questions. And they brought out the matter and said, is this matter? And I said, I have no business. They have marital issues. They've been quarreling. As a younger person, I have advised them to go and settle that the natural order I know is that the younger ones come to the elderly ones to settle cases.
At least in Yoruba land.
The police released me and I left. So no one is saying now that the former governor is a thief, he is this or that. It's at the level of allegations. You see, at the level of allegations. So in fact, it's even possible that he goes to EFCC, he writes his statement, and he's not arraigned in court. But I think EFCC has gone ahead. So let me advise. I read about 500 lawyers going to Supreme Court. Those things are not necessary. As a public relations practitioner, you are just fueling the matter. You see, in law, we talk about issues. What is the main issue here now? The former governor is alleged to have laundered 80 billion naira. That is an issue. So whether he surrenders himself to EFCC or it takes 2 weeks before he comes, and I will try to mention some of the options I may predict, that matter must be dealt with. And if he gets there and they discover that, whether it was through whistleblowing or whatever, that the man did not steal the money, he goes home. And this started earlier.
But these are facts that must be well known to him or must have been explained to him by his lawyer.
In fact, the fact
so what could
that
have actually precipitated that kind of fear?
Again, in perception management, your question is valid. You see, his action now is as if he's afraid of something. as if he is afraid of something. Because if there are anybody can look at me on the street and say, okay, you look like you are the one who took my phone. You have to prove that I took your phone now. So these are issues. But like I said earlier, we are just dealing with our system. Because if, for instance, the EFCC is going to some in Ikeja, I don't think we have all the drama that we are having. But basically,
you just spoke about the high-profile individuals involved. The current governor is also involved,
yes.
And there has the IG and the Attorney General have issued warnings that no one must actually obstruct the course of justice. Now, like the current governor, what's your that?
You see, the immunity we are talking about is section 308 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, which grants privilege to the president, vice president, governor, and deputy governor from litigations. And it does not erode the need for accountability, transparency, and good governance. And like I explained earlier, that immunity only serves you when you are in office. When you come out,
I'd like you to speak to the integrity of even the current governor to have actually aided the release or the escape of the former governor. Does that show that is that something you may want to recommend or kind of emulate?
I won't
Or
talk
does
about,
that not open a new chapter?
I won't talk
in the
about
cause of justice?
emulation, but I will talk about what Lord Atkin said. He said, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power, absolutely. When you have power, you want to use it. Former Governor Yahya Bello was instrumental to the emergence of the current governor. And he needed help. Come and save me from this embarrassment. So naturally in Nigeria, we seek influence to get out of trouble. So he has used his influence as the governor. Okay, enjoy my immunity. And by riding in his car, the EFCC could not stop that vehicle.
There of course
not have arrested
kind of
anyone.
fisticuff between the EFCC officials and the aides.
Could they prevent it's been taken away from them?
Was that not the
These are issues. Remember also,
these are people who must have common approach, common understanding.
there cannot be common approach, and I will explain that. You see, we run a system in this country that creates sometimes unnecessary privileges on a level playing ground, and I will explain. There is a clear difference between a police officer who lives in the barrack and the police officer who is an attaché to the governor. You may be shocked that the orderly of a governor may have all his children schooling abroad. You see, so when battles come about professionalism, what do you expect? Have you forgotten, sir, the case of the fracas in Rivers State House of Assembly? Okay, where policemen even aided their masters.
The governor allegedly claimed that he was tear gas.
Exactly. So these are issues of system that we run, and we have relegated the rule of law. The rule of law says everyone must be subject to the laws of the land. You see? So, your question about immunity and how it is applied. There had been debates of even extending immunity to Senate President, Senate leaders, maybe House of Assembly leaders and things like that. And some are saying, remove this immunity completely. Because we have a case now. Let's assume that a former governor who is alleged to steal about, let me even say, 7 billion naira, actually stole the money. And so how much we will recover back? You remember the case of Ekiti State that I mentioned. The former minister, Musli Owadikoro, gave a testimony in court that he was giving money to take to Ekiti for the elections, prima facie cases. And that also brings me to what I call the crime racket. It was the National Advisor on Security that gave money to Muslim Obanikolo to take to Ekiti for election. So you see all this, they jump around. Hey, bail me out. Remember the case of Betty Edu? That is
very fresh.
She's been suspended. And facts are coming out. Billions here, billions there. Somebody got contract. And so you find a network of crime. You remember when the present Senate president was being queried by the National Assembly on NDDC, and he started speaking, and he said, "Off your mic." You guys started pointing at collect receive. You remember the prayer points that got converted.
Very well.
These are issues with our land. Okay. Like I said, we are speaking here on the basis of presumption of innocence. If there is need to render account.
Okay, going forward on the issue, up till now, the former governor has not actually surrendered, has not presented himself to the EFCC. What do you foresee as the outcome of this delayed compliance?
I will give three options here. Option one, the former governor will drive to EFCC with some of his friends. It's okay, I'm here. Maybe
within a very short space of time, or
I cannot give the timing. Okay. And I'm here, or the EFCC corners him. Because there's this argument that a high court in Kogi State gave an order that he should not be arrested. But that was an order premised on fundamental human rights. The EFCC also claimed to have gotten an order from the Federal High Court in Abuja to arrest him on the basis of allegations of crime. But people are now saying those orders. So one is on fundamental human rights, which is subject to appeal. The other one. So these are issues, and EFCC, from the body language of the presidency, represented by the Attorney General of the Federation, who is the number one law officer, is saying, go ahead and submit yourself to the EFCC. The second option may be that, the former governor is now waving from the Far East or the Caribbean islands, even though the Nigerian Immigration Services have been alerted by the federal government. And the third option may be that another drama will come up, but it does not appear that this matter will just be allowed to fizzle away by the federal government, because the reputation of the federal government is at stake here now. Just like people are still asking, what will happen to Betty Edu's matter? With all these facts you have gathered yourself, are you just going to recover the money and let it be? In which case, we are not sending consequence alerts to others that may want to go into office to be corrupt. You can see now that when people go for parties now, it's either they shield themselves if they must spray money, or they don't spray the money, they put it in an envelope and give the
celebrity. Or put it inside a box.
Because already a celebrity is cooling down. And some are already begging, please, and Khalifa, which means take it as a witness. So these are issues. But then,
Still on the court issues. The human rights lawyer, that's the well-respected Femi Falana, has said that the court cannot stop EFCC from arresting the former governor.
I just mentioned it now. When you talk of fundamental human rights, you can read from section 33 to section 46 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, freedom of movement and everything. But this human right is also subject to the intervention of the state on allegations. You know what I mean?
The rights of every citizen of
citizens have rights, and you are also to respect the rights of others. And accountability is a high level of the fundamental rights of others. You see, we are in this wonderful studio this morning, and I'm worried about Nigeria. And let me say this: access to electricity is a fundamental human right. So the government cannot just continue to punish us. And that is the truth. And that is the mindset of the United States of America. We cannot imagine keeping our citizens in darkness. So when you talk about fundamental human rights, the positioning of your own right in that of the public right is also sacrosanct, because your right should be exercised in a way that enhances the fortunes of others. So if there are allegations now that, I'm speaking without bias and with the presumption of innocence, like I said earlier. But let's assume that 80 billion naira disappear from the state coffers. That is something.
That's something huge. Now it's still on. Let's take this discussion to. Of course, you actually mentioned or referred to it in your previous submission. Issue of governance. It's alleged that in the last 8 years that Kogi State has turned out to be one of the most impoverished states of the federation, lacking several basic utilities, bad infrastructure, health services in very terrible situation, education is at the lowest level, and all of that. In the midst of all of that, they alleged that the former governor, lived an opulent life to the extent that he allegedly acquired a jet. Now, what do you see? And this is somebody who is adjudged to be the youngest governor in the land. That's representing the youth. In the midst of all that, what's your interpretation of people leadership, governance, and the issue of corruption, bringing development, taking development to the lowest ebb?
You see, I cannot confirm those facts because when he was in office, we read about the great things he was doing in office. So I don't want to join issues with that, but I will only respond to the demand.
You read about the great things he did.
Exactly.
Not that he traveled on Kogi roads.
Exactly. So good governance is yet to start in Nigeria because we are yet to get to the point where democracy is actually operating, which is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we have discussed it at various times. The SUV in the National Assembly, when inflation is right now about 33.7%, the cost of food, the hardship, the increase in tariff, removal of fuel subsidy, mismanagement of palliative. So the people may not be in the picture of governance. So we may have two definitions of governance. So we have a huge divide between the high and mighty and the generality of the citizens. So let me also say this, that the case on ground now is not to evaluate his performance in office. And I will borrow an expression.
But do they have a link?
I will borrow an expression.
Between allegations of corruption and misgovernance.
You see, when you talk of corruption reverses development. It's a settled case. Nigeria is where it is today because of corruption. There's no argument about that. But let me borrow the expression of the judge that tried the former governor of Delta State, Ibori, in the UK and jailed him for 13 years.
when the people of Delta went to the UK to tell the court that he built an Olympic-sized stadium and this and this and that. The judge said it was not the business of the court to evaluate his performance in office, but to jail him based specific crime. So I don't want to join the bandwagon of distractions and things like that. He has left office. So what we tell everyone in office is that it's only God that will not leave office. So if you are in any office, you will leave today. In fact, I've been telling my president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Yahya Bello, whom I love so much, that God, your time is running. Whether we like it or not, the former president Muhammadu Buhari was in office for 8 years. He has left. All that happened got documented by historians. You see, some books may be coming out after that, but it's not about books. It's about what you did in office. And we hope that the renewed hope is actually the one that will enhance the fortunes of the citizens. You see, and that is why one of the reasons I think the president is also looking away from this matter, that let's set a new slate in the nation. But like I said, these are just allegations for now, and the best option may be for the former governor to probably consult former governor Ayodele Fayose on how to go about it. EFCC is not going to lock him up in the prison, or it's just to start from asking, okay, these are the allegations against you. Let's have your own statement and things like that. So instead of the more drama you have, the more people that will get interested in the story. And that is public relations for you. You see, and the more the presidency will want to stay away from that matter. You recall when Hush Puppy was picked up in Dubai and extradited to the US. The senators who were his friends and big guys that denied him. We don't know how, And right now, the director of Binance that was on the run, that escaped from custody, has been arrested in Kenya. So these are issues. So it's good sometimes to sit down and evaluate the steps you want to take, and go into the past and look at those who took similar steps. How did they handle it and everything, so that we can save ourselves this drama. This drama may just further portray the former governor as being culpable, and I don't want to conclude on that.
Under the present administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'd like you to look at EFCC as a body that maybe more or less trying to convince Nigerians that it's serious. Do you see this administration recording more successes? That's the EFCC now, recording more judicial successes with its trials more than the previous administrations.
It's still short to conclude. Maybe the area of Yahoo boys and things like that, and recovery of money, because a lot has been recovered from Betty Edu. A lot, I also suppose, has been recovered from Emefiele. And also when Emefiele issue started, different kinds of sentiments came in. But when people started hearing about the millions of dollars and all the, people started leaving the course, the law to take its course. So I will always support the efforts of EFCC. It's not an easy job, globally speaking. It's a fighting crime. It's dangerous, and it's not going to be easy. But I would just advise that professionalism should be engaged, and I will not fly on the wings of sensationalism. And that is why we take the time to dig deep, gone to do my studies on this issue of law orders and things like that, to know that the EFCC also got an order from the federal court in Abuja to arrest former government. So we need to be informed about all this.
All right, thank you very much. That's me, our guest, submitting his views on the trial. I mean, the attempts to actually get the former governor of Kogi State, that's Yahya Bello, to answer questions regarding allegations of money laundering up to the tune of 80 billion. Of course, it's an unfolding development. It's an unfolding drama where Nigerians are actually waiting to see the end of it, or to see the processes that may lead to the prosecution or otherwise of the former governor. That's our package today, but I can't go without thanking our guest for his time and his thoughts on the program. I'd like to sincerely appreciate you, sir.
Thank you too.
It's so wonderful having an unbiased submission on that on this issue that we discussed.
We thank God. God bless
The
Nigeria.
Lord continue to enrich you,
Amen.
wisdom, and every aspect of your life.
Amen.
So that's our first segment on the program today. Of course, the usual way is to transit to another segment where we beam our searchlight on the developmental strides of the governor of Lagos, that's the administration of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and trying to move Lagos State to the zenith. That's our package today. My name is Banji Busari. See you again next week. Bye-bye.